So I wasn't sure to come up there. I want you to just keep on going so that I think we should just skip the message, just keep on doing praise and worship. I think that'd be better all day long just to hear these guys praise in the name of the Lord. It's just so awesome. I love it. It's summertime, guys. And summertime, doesn't it feel so good? The summer breeze, the flowers, the wind in the air, and the beach. Oh, the beach, Sky, you love the beach. Oh, gotta love the beach. But then, yes, there's a great footprints up there, yes. Gotta love the beach. But then, the problem with the beach is that I realized I sure spent a lot more time at the gym. So I'll just keep my shirt on this summer, and I will enjoy the beach, but you will not see no shirt off. So I will spare you from that. But you know what? Oh, the summertime, and the smell of the barbecues and the family gatherings, and just, you know, we wait all year for this. We wait all year for the time that we can just get out, and we just want to make the most of summer. But before you know it, summer's over. So, I know, don't say that. It's like, my goodness, we just have to pack it in. But you know what? Before we know it, in a blink of an eye, we wait all year, and all of a sudden, it's gone. So we try to make the most of it, and we try to get away from the mundane routine of our lives. And so we just get out of town and turn off our cell phones and clear our schedules and dust off that credit card so that, but then we also turn God off. Now, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with vacations and getting away. And vacation is good. But God wants to experience that vacation with you. He wants to be with you to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Summer break does not have to mean a break from God. And we all know people who want to go away and party, and they'll just repent when they get home. Right? That's not what we should do. So when I was younger, guys, I never drank much at all. I never wanted to lose control. But I got to tell you, even though I didn't do that, I got to say I was the life of the party. Oh, yeah. I love to have a good time. And Mark can contest to this, yeah. It's like, oh, when's Russell coming out? Yeah, so invite him out. He'd have a good time. But you know what? One thing about that, I never really had to check my morals and my values at the door. I never had to do that. So when I started walking, and I started to read about who Jesus was, and I came across his first miracle. Does anybody know what Jesus' first miracle was? Turn water into wine. Why did he do that? I struggled with that for the longest time. Why would Jesus take water into the wine? Until I realized that it's a picture. It's a picture that Jesus makes everything better. He took ordinary water and made it to something better. Jesus is the better Adam. Jesus is the better Moses. Jesus is the better anything that you would ever turn to. Jesus is the one that makes the party better. The party is better with Jesus. And the party is better when the Christians show up. But we don't think that way, do we? We don't think that way. But it is. The party is better with him. And there's far less regrets. Just saying. Now, we take a break because we work hard. And working hard is very, very important. God models that throughout the whole Bible. He created the whole universe in 6 days, and then he took a break. Some of us don't produce anything all week, and we want Saturday and Sunday off. And it's just, you know, but we need to really use our gifts to our full ability. That's a good thing. Use our gifts. Be productive. Work hard and use the gifts so that we can enrich someone else's life. So that we can be able to use our talents to enrich someone else. If you're not doing that, you're really wasting your time. And we don't want to waste our time. We want to be able to be productive in the things and the abilities that he's given. So get out there and let God flow through you and allow him to help you help others. And most importantly, share him with others. We are most productive when we're working with God, not working against God. And I've been there trying to do my own agenda a few times, and it doesn't work so well. But working with God, and when you're building things with him and doing things together, it's so much better. how much better once it is if you complete the finished masterpiece. Like, how sad would it be if you finish the completed masterpiece and then you're like, look what I did. It's like, no, look what you just created. Look what we created together with God, not just yourself. And it's just so much better if we do that together with him. And just look at it if I, as a guy, if I built a deck, or if I built a house with my friends. And how better if you sit back with your friends after you completed something like a big project like that, and it's like, yeah, that's something that we did together. Include him in our celebrations. Include him in all the accomplishments that we do, whether we went back to school and we, got that grade 12 that we desperately so hard, and celebrate that with him. And, but you know what? Hard work, I definitely got from my dad. My dad could always be found puttering around, always doing something. And he really instilled in me that if you really want something, don't make excuse. Get out there and just do it. Stop it with the excuses and just get out there. And there's no excuse for not working hard. But my dad was also a social butterfly, and he loved to have a good time. So after a hard day of work, he would relax. And so some of you guys who don't know me, I got some family members here, and actually some of them might not even know, but I grew up on a lake. I was privileged enough to grow up on a lake. I could throw a pebble right from my deck into the lake, and it was a beautiful thing. My dad built it, and I'm very proud of having a childhood that I could grow up on the lake. And then sometimes what Dad would do, we had a speedboat that we had the lake pretty much all to ourselves. And after everything settled down, Dad would go out, and he would just go out on a cruise on the lake just by himself. Once in a while, if we talked him into it, he would let us come along. And it was some of the most peaceful moments where we just get to cruise on the lake. I just remember seeing the yellow sunset on his face, and it was always that dusk that he would want to go. And the lake was just so calm. It was just like glass, and I would just dip my hand in the water. And it was just so peaceful. And I always felt that it was his time with him and God, just to connect with nature, just one-on-one with him, just all the other stress aside, and just a way for him to connect. And I never asked him this, but I believe that that was his time, and because there was always a sense of peace over his face. And when he was on the lake. So take the time to make those little connections with God. Take the little time throughout this summer. I know summer's really busy, but carve out a little time with him. Because you know what? Because God helps us through our deepest hurts, through our deepest pains and our deepest sorrows. He can bring us out of the deepest abyss and bring us down from out to the gutter. He walks with us when we can't walk. He speaks to us when we cannot speak. And when you get into the Word and things start to come together, He'll pull things together. And then all of a sudden you can start to walk. And then all of a sudden you can start to walk and jump. And then you jump and sing. And then you start to skip because He brought everything together with Him. And then you're able to sing and you're able to dance. And He wants to do that with you. He wants not only the deeper sorrows, but He wants to celebrate with you as you're singing, as you carry from that deepest part into the joys of His presence. Do that together with Him. And He wants to celebrate our happiest moments and our hardships all together. He wants to enjoy the accomplishments, but far too often we lessen our accomplishments. So after we're down in the gutter and He brings us out there and we get the accomplishment that He gave us, that we prayed for, then we act like it's not a big deal. It's almost like if you had a birthday party, and I don't know if you would do this or not, but if you had a birthday party and you invited Prince Harry and Meghan, newlyweds, to your birthday party, right? And it's just like, but you would probably say, well, they would never come to my birthday party, right? And it's like, this is just little old me. I'm nobody. Why would they come to my party? But let me tell you, He wants to come to your party. He wants to be with you, and He wants to celebrate your birthday and your everyday with you. He wants to be there with you, and He just wants an invitation. And I promise you, He'll accept that invitation if you offer it to Him. He'll be right there, and it'll be the best party that you guys will ever have and ever want to see, and it'll be a party like no other. Just invite Him. It says in Chronicles 16:11, to seek the Lord and his strength, seek his presence continuously. Seeking the Lord is something that we need to do continuously. We often go on vacation and work, and we end up parting from the Lord. And we take a break away from him so that we can leisure in our own sinful pleasures. Not all the cases, but sometimes we just focus on our selfish needs. Because I work so hard, I deserve all these things, so why not go and do these things? And sometimes we check God at the door. But others, not all, but others, like myself, I get too busy, and I just miss out. And I try to pack in my summer, in my everyday, as a matter of fact, I try to pack it all in there, and then I end up missing out. Now, Apple Blossom is the same time every year. But how is it that I miss it every year? And I've been saying for the last 4 years that I want to go blueberry picking. And for some reason, the season's always over by the time I get to it, right? And it's just like, oh, man. It's like, and because I'm packing it all in, and then next thing you know, I miss out. But the truth is, guys, really, if I really wanted to go blueberry picking, I would have just made it a priority. I would have set it in my calendar, and I would have set it as a priority, and I would have booked it all up. What's that? I have time. So now I'm gonna book it up. Actually, I did go looking, actually, and they weren't out yet. So there you go. I have to talk to you to figure out what the timing is. And but you know what? And the same thing, if you don't book it, the same thing can happen with your relationship with God. Yes, I want a relationship with the Lord. But the next thing you know, summer's over. And you didn't make that connection with them because you're trying to pack in too much of other stuff. And if you did make a connection with them, sometimes you're often rushed. So you rush through your prayer requests, and then you don't even have time to listen for the answer for what you were just praying for. So sometimes that can happen. But I really encourage you to take a breath, book some time with the Lord. This week even, book some time with the Lord, and go to the lake, go for a walk, and do whatever you do that you need to connect and make those little connections and have that little conversations. And people might think you're weird by talking to yourself, but you're not talking to yourself, you're talking to the Lord. So, and then you can disciple them and get them talking too, so it's all great. But yesterday, we decided to go, as the Explorer group, we went for a hike. We went to a hike down in Heron Cove Trails, which is just past the Fort York, and we went to Fort York as well. But it was so beautiful there. Like just the sea, the ocean, and the rocks, and there's these high cliffs there. I'm not sure if anyone has been there, but I totally recommend it. It was awesome. And one of the things that me and Mark were just kind of standing there just looking at the massive ocean and just awestruck at the immensity of that, making just us so that he created all this. It was just so massive. But you know what? Sometimes, I even live near the ocean, but sometimes we take it for granted. Sometimes we don't think about, the awe-dropping shock reaction that the ocean and nature can have on somebody until you see someone witness the ocean for the very first time. Melissa's sister came down a few years ago, and we took her to Rainbow Haven. Now, I've been to Rainbow Haven a billion times, and yes, it's beautiful, but to see her reaction on her face, to see for the first time the awestruck immensity of that, of seeing the ocean for the very first time, it just totally amazed me, for a complete amazement. And I realized that not everybody is fortunate enough to have a connection with the ocean like we do. But at the same time, not everybody's fortunate enough to have a connection with God like we do. And that's what's sad. And that's what hurts my heart. I want them to share the experience not only of the ocean, but of what God has given to us and given us the ability to have a connection with him that we take for granted in many cases. But to do that, I got to acknowledge that there's an ocean out there. Right? It's in my backyard, but I don't take the time to appreciate it and just sit there. And just like him, I need to acknowledge him, that he was the creator of that. And we need to give him credit where credit's due, and give him thanks, and to be grateful for the things that he's given us. And just the simple act of allowing us to be able to have a relationship with him is just awestruck. But you know what? And I got to be honest here. Sometimes I treat God like he's a distant cousin that's socially awkward that my mom made me hang out with. You know, it's just, I go to the party and I don't want to invite him. My mom makes me bring him. And I don't want to introduce him. And I'm just embarrassed to do that in many cases, especially when I'm out on the streets or we're at a party and be like, someone's like, oh, who's this? And I was like, oh, that's Jesus. It's like, he's a Christian. Mom made me bring him, right? It's just like, but we shouldn't do this. We shouldn't do that, and I'm guilty of this myself. And if you ever heard the statement that, Mom, you're right, it's like, yeah, Mom, you're right. Jesus is pretty cool. So, now whether you acknowledge him or not, it doesn't change the fact that he's at work. And if you believe in God, he's not on vacation. He is working. He is working in our hearts, seed by seed, through his followers, so that you would be able to turn towards him, so that you will be able to see that he is the truth, the light, and the way, and that we may go kicking and screaming all along the path, but he just loves us anyways. He just loves us anyways. As much as we kick and we scream, and it's like, God, I don't like that verse. He said, I don't care. You'll grow. I don't change. But you do. And I have. And we want to share that with everybody. And slow down. We need to slow down and enjoy the summer. Try not to pack it all in. Enjoy the moments that you're actually in. And, you know, we just try to pack it all in, and it's like, oh yeah, we went to Florida and we did this and we did that and we did this and we did that. And it's like, wow, did you enjoy any of it? No, it's too busy. Right? It's just like, we just need to enjoy the moments that we're in, whatever the moments are. And it could be the simple things. It could be just going to the park or going for the walk. But enjoy the simple things. It could be a hug from your child or a hug from a stranger. There's a certain peace when someone can come up and say, what did you do this summer? Absolutely nothing other than connecting with the Lord. There's something about that. I used to drive motorcycles, and maybe that goes along with my fast-paced, always have 9 million things going on. But we used to drive with a group of friends, and one guy in particular, he was always anxious all the time. And me and Mark, we used to drive, and there's a couple other guys there, and there's one guy that was just like, every second, he was like, okay, we gotta go. It's like, where are you going? I don't know, but we gotta go. And it's just like, okay. Then he's like, okay, we gotta go to this person's house. And then we drive out to this person's house, and me and Mark take off our shoes, and we sit down on the couch, and he's like, okay, we gotta go. It's like, man, we just got here, right? Enjoy the moments that you're in, right? And there's a great scene in, it's an old movie, so the kids probably don't know this one, but the Chevy Chase movie, Vacation, where he travels all through the country, and then he finally gets to the Grand Canyon, and he puts his arm around his wife, and he just nods a couple times, like, okay, let's go. Right? It's just like, no, take the time to enjoy the moments that you're in, where it will pass you by. Take the time to smell the flowers, and take the time to relax with God throughout the summer. So what's the point of all this? The point is that I think it can pretty much be summed up in Hebrews 3, 12 to 14. See to it, brothers and sisters, that none of you have a sinful, unbelieving heart that turns away from the living God. Be encouraged, but encourage one another daily, as long as it is called today, so that none of you may be hardened by sin's deceitfulness. We have come to share in Christ, if indeed we hold the original convictions firmly to the very end. To me, this says, let's walk together with Christ. Let's, as a church, we share, we love, and we cry. And then we grow towards him continually, so that we don't have unbelieving hearts. And I got to admit, when I joined the growth groups, I had an unbelieving heart. I didn't believe many of the things in the Bible. I didn't believe some of the things. I believed in the bigger picture of him, but I didn't believe some of the things that he said. So I encourage you, if you haven't been part of a growth group or a life group now that we call it, join, because that's where you will grow. These connection services are wonderful to connect and have an introduction to God, but to get deep within God, you really need to have that debate with somebody and one-on-one conversation so that you can debate things that you don't understand, that you struggle with. And he wants you to debate those things so that you can work through things together with his other believers so that you can grow to a different level. And if it wasn't for that, I would definitely not be here, for sure, and I can guarantee you that, because I would ask some weird questions and really off-the-wall things, but people had patience with me, and I was able to learn and grow and walk in a closer relationship, and I continue to do that today. It's not a one-time thing. It's something that you will continuously seek the Lord in all his glory wherever you're at. And he helps us with those notes. And you know what? That can just make all the difference in the world. But how do we do that practically? So the first thing I already said, we need to join some type of group that we connect with other believers so that we can grow in our faith, so we can do a Bible study and understand what the passages are saying. We just had a Bible study last week, and we went going through the book of John, and I read the book of John a few times, and there's things that pop out there that I didn't understand. It's like, that was there the whole time? So there's things that get uncovered every time as you grow. Doesn't matter if you learned it before or after. And when I first started walking, I was just like, geez, well, you just have to read the book once, and then you're done. Right? And it's just like, it's not that. It's an everyday thing. It's going to be something that you're going to grow with the Lord continuously. From the day that you accept the Lord into your heart until that you meet him, you will be learning what he has to say. So first, in that, thank him that he gave you a book that be able to explain who his character actually is, to be able to explain that who he is and who he wants you to be, and what he made you, what he created you to be. So, thank him for everything. If you wake up, my mom suffered from depression, and it's hard when you feel so deep down, and you feel nothing to be thankful for, and you can't get out of the pit of the depression. What gave me hope, my mom had a Bible. And near the end of her life, she was reading the Bible and getting into the Word. The deepest regret that I have is I didn't connect with her as she was going through that, connecting with the Lord, to help her with her depression. But we need to find something. Whether it's waking up, thank God you woke me up. Thank God I have eyes to see. Thank God I have the heartbeat that can beat with yours. Thank God that I can walk. And if you can't walk, thank God I can crawl. I just seen a documentary where the guy just crawled. He has no arms and no legs, and he crawled up Mount Kilimanjaro. Crawled up. Be thankful for what God has given us, and be thankful for everything that we have. And yeah, just be thankful. I had a friend a few weeks ago who had a conversation, and we need to stop focusing on what I can't do. Stop focusing on what you can't do and focus on what's possible with God. Don't let a label that someone gives you become your reality. And for years, guys, when I started walking, I rejected the word pastor for myself. I would do anything but be a pastor. And I would just did not want to do anything to do that until it was pointed out that I'm doing everything a pastor would be doing. And by the way, the word elder and pastor are used interchangeably in the Bible. And it's like, oh man. So without realizing it, then I guess I became a pastor. And it wasn't until a few months ago when Pastor Jacob was in, and he introduced me. He said, oh, this is Pastor Russell. And I'm looking around, who's he talking about? Is there another Russell here? Right? So because I didn't have that picture of myself, and but you see, I held the word pastor at such high esteem and high regard, but I didn't hold myself in that same high regard because I didn't think of myself as worthy enough to hold that title. I didn't think of myself as being able to be someone that be able to do that. I did not feel worthy until another pastor says to me in my face, well, you're not worthy. You're not able to be worthy enough to do this position. And it's only my complete reliance on him in everything. Thank you. And not only for my salvation, but for my everyday walk. That just gave you goosebumps. And it's for my relationship. I have total reliance on him for my relationship, and I'm grateful. And it's just like a marriage that you want to rekindle your marriage. You need to invest in one another. You need to spend time with one another so that you're actually supporting one another and get to know each other. And the more time you spend with each other, the more time that you'll have in a better relationship. So I say to you, vacation with Jesus this summer. Another thing that we need to do now, when I first started walking, because I had 4 or 5 different things on my mind, I decided it was cool to read the Bible in 100 days. So, and I breezed through it, and I got that goal, and I did it, 100 days. But the only reason I did that is because I knew I was going to read it again. And so I recommend reading it slowly. Because you're going to get a lot more out of it if you do it that way. Chew on it. Grow with it, verse by verse. And allow it to absorb into your soul. Allow it to affect you from the inside out so that it be able to change you, to change your thought. Because it's when you meditate on a thought that it will actually help you affect your thoughts as you're about to do a sinful action. Or if you're about to make a decision on something else, it allows you to be able to walk with God in the decisions that he would make, not the decisions that you would make if you're doing something nice and quick. So take your time and slow it down. Set them as a priority. C2C has a thing where they set their watch to 10:10. It's a relation to a Bible verse where God is dominion from sea to sea. So they say a prayer at 10:10 from the watch to recognize that God is here and how can we help church planters and church in general grow and multiply the disciples of Jesus throughout this world. And the power of prayer is amazing. So set your watch to whatever works for you. I found mornings used to be the best. And I used to get up 15 minutes early, and I used to read him. I used to put him first, and I used to read the scriptures with him for 15 minutes. It does add up. But then I changed my position at work. And then I had to get up at 5:45. And let me tell you, I don't do too good before 6. So, and I got to admit that because life changed, I had a good routine, but my life changed. I got stuck in a rut because I wasn't getting into his word every day, and I wasn't putting him first. And because I would say, oh, geez, I got to rush, and I'd say, oh, I didn't pray today, and the next thing you know, it's 3 to 4 days later, and the next thing you know, I didn't even connect with him at all. So whatever time that works for you, just set it and make it a priority. Because you know what? The time's going to fly by, as I already said before. Next thing you know, it's going to be September. I know people don't want to hear that, but take the time. That's right. So take the time to connect with God. And do it with joy. When I first start walking, I'd be like, oh, God, okay, thank you, God. Oh, my goodness, thank you. Okay, thank you. Now, you're going to give me what I need now? Okay. No, it's like, do it with a joyous heart. Do it with joy, and you will have a better relationship by far. Because after all, guys, we get to talk to the Creator who made the world. And he wants to have a conversation with us, but he wants to have a good conversation, not like some kid that has to say I'm sorry just for the sake of saying I'm sorry, right? Do it with joy. Now the good news is that myself, I have an issue with being busy. So when I'm up here preaching it, I don't want to have it all together. I struggle with these things, and it's an ongoing thing. I make myself busy for the sake of making myself busy. I used to run, if anyone that knows me, I used to run a photography studio and a production studio at the same time, and my photography studio was the largest photography studio in Atlantic Canada. But I also ran a production studio. And then I also am a dedicated father, and I take that seriously. So, but you know what? Sometimes we focus on the things that are not important. So when I had my photography studio, I would make pamphlets, I would do customers' orders, and I do all kinds of different stuff, but I ended up finding myself so busy, I wasn't focusing on the things that I needed to do to get things done. I wasn't focusing on the sale. I wasn't focusing on finishing that last customer requisition. I wasn't focusing on the things that's on to generate and help my business grow. I was focused on all these mundane things that, oh, I gotta clean the floor, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. And it's actually kind of funny because I used the photography studio section, I used to travel from Dartmouth, my studio was in Dartmouth, I used to travel always to Halifax to pick up the photos from the supplier. So we used to pick those up, I used to package them up, 20 minutes there, 20 minutes back, get back to the thing and put the customer's orders away so that they're there to pick them up when they needed their photos. Until I realized that it was an $8 courier charge just to do that, and I was doing that 2 or 3 times a week. An $8 courier charge. The solution's there, and you'll find it if you slow down in God's Word. Whatever the solution is, it's there. You'll be able to free up your time. So just look at your day. There's a book that I've read, The 4-Hour Work Week, which pros and cons to things of the book, but the essence of it was that it shows you where you're wasting your time. For me, it was spending 20 minutes going to the couriers. Then I realized that, oh man, why am I spending? I used to take my computer home at night, edit the photos all night until about 2 o'clock in the morning. After I tucked them out, first thing is I had to tuck the kids in the bed, give my wife a kiss, and then go off and do the photos until about 2 or 3 in the morning. Until I realized that, why don't I just hire somebody? And then they could do the editing, and they're better at it. So that's what I did. And but for me, it was always working hard was not a big deal. I could always work hard. But resting in Him, that's a different story. In Hebrews, he says, for anyone who enters God's rest also rests from their works, just as He did from His. God took a break. Now, for me, I had a hard time with this. You see, my mind's always going. I usually have 4 or 5 things flowing through my mind all the time. Usually drive my wife crazy because I can never focus on 1 or 2 things. I always have 4 or 5 different things, and that's just kind of the way I flow. And again, I ran the production studio. And then after I ran the studios and stuff, I also, when I closed that down, I took a job, but I also had an office job that was full-time office job. But then I worked part-time at a construction company. Then I used to put in flex time from that so that instead of taking hour breaks, I would take a half an hour break so that I could be able to get off early so I can go to evening to take care of an Alzheimer's patient who had Alzheimer's and take care of him in the evening. So working hard was not hard for me. But resting was. And resting in the Lord was even harder. I had a hard time with that. And then to come find out that all my other opportunities, they closed. My business closed. My other businesses closed. My jobs closed down.